Hey guys, Square with Camel. Took a bit of a break here working on the T7 suspension, waiting for some machining and a shock to come in, a couple other things. So we are in good shape though to get going. If you watched the previous episode, you will remember that the threads in here were cut wrong. They're 18.1.5. And these guys got cut 18.2 or 18.175. So we had to get that opened up, couldn't get the axle into it, which is obviously a problem. Originally, I was going to drill this out and put a helicoil in here. The thread that's on here is the same as a spark plug and a oxygen sensor. So we could have put a helicoil in here quite easily, and then the axle would have threaded in like it does from the factory. And then I started thinking about it that simply drilling the end and putting in an M12 175 might be a better solution. And the reason for that is now I don't have to carry that 19 mil hex to get the axle out. So on the bike, normally this threads in and you need that hex bit, a big Allen wrench to get this out. So most bikes aren't that way. You can get sockets, you can get all kinds of different stuff, full-on Allen wrenches or Allen bits or different adapters and things. I don't really like this setup. I go between bikes a lot. So I like to have one toolkit that kind of works with everything, and having the big 19 mil is a bit of a hassle. So we just blew these threads out, and now I'm just going to have a 17 mil head bolt on here, and then we'll just knock this out like you would on a regular bike. The other thing we did was, you will recall that there was a step on here, and this material was just too big to fit through the triple. So we turned this down and to match the same size as the bearing, which is the same size that's through the main hole in the lower triple. So this is a size on size press fit. So there's not a ton of interference here, but it is going to take a little bit to get it in. So I just want to make sure that I've got a little bit of grease on this stuff so I don't make a mess and gall things up. So we harvested the snap ring out of the original stem. Oh. That could not be closer. This is so incredibly close. I don't want to move it down on the head one more. It's just like, it could not be closer. So, oh, there we go. Like I said, size on size, not a big press on this. Ta-da! Got some waterproof grease on the upper bearing here. We'll put our dust cap back on. So we can take our stem here, we're going to pop it up from the bottom, and then on top of the bearing up here, we're going to put our first lock ring. So I don't have a spanner that fits over this, so I'm going to be a bit of a hack here and grab this with the channel locks just to get this tightened up. And I'm sure this will be off and on a few more times, so I can get that kind of set up to spec. And then we've got a second lock ring. There's a little plastic rubbery thing in here. So when you tighten this down, it puts a little bit of load on the second one. This way you don't need to stake anything. And I know the specs for this are in the manual, which I don't have here right now. And then there's a lock ring here that drops in from the top and it lines the splines up, so neither one of them can back out. So I've got this bracket here that holds a bunch of the wiring and cables out of the way, and we've got our ignition set up here. So that guy goes on top like so. And then there's some annoying fuckery here to get this stuff all twisted and in line with where it's supposed to go, which was a giant pain in my ass when I took it apart. And I feel like it's going to be a giant pain in the ass to get it back where it's supposed to go this time. I believe that I took photos. I know I mentioned to you guys that you should take photos when you take this stuff apart, and I think that I did too. I hope that I did. Otherwise, this is going to suck. So I got some new security bolts here to hold the lock mechanism onto the bottom of the triple. In reality, you probably don't need to do that, but I figure if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it right. Make sure that I don't have any of the stuff twisted. I shouldn't say make sure I don't have any of it twisted. It's all kind of twisted when it goes in here. So I guess the trick is to make sure that it's twisted the way that it's supposed to be twisted. So I should probably do it with this red Loctite, but it'll probably be apart a few times, so I don't really want to mess with red. Blue is going to be strong enough in conjunction with the security bolts. Now I haven't test fit this whole thing here. A little bit on the bench to make sure that the stem and the triple went together and that kind of thing, but the rest of these wires are kind of an unknown, to be honest with you. So we've got the steering locks where it's supposed to be. Got the text kind of backwards here for seeing it when you're on the bike. It's the wires here and the way they fit with this bracket that I'm a little bit unsure of. This is incredibly frustrating tonight. Just spent half an hour fighting with the routing for the brake hose, throttle cables, electrical cables on the, there's a wire clip that holds everything, but it doesn't just slide in behind. There's things going in all directions and things that do a big loop and back around, and plastic clips that aren't holding on. Got the tripod, has to be up high enough to look down on the bike, which means the tripod legs are really wide at the bottom. Got a light here on a tripod too. The camera and the light are all stuck together, and of course the camera and the light are exactly where I need to be to actually do the thing that I'm doing. If they're not in that location, I can't get the shot, which sucks. So it's probably a good thing the camera got hot and shut off, because there was some swearing and throwing of things. I'm gonna do that. Anyway, so the triples are in. I'm gonna grab, I only have one fork leg that's assembled, but I'm going to grab that one, slide it in, make sure the fork guards mount, make sure the brake calipers mount, and then we'll probably try and install the other fork, or assemble the other fork. All right, badass mofo here. So the lower triples are tight. On the bench they're tight anyway. The upper triples are a hair loose, so Well, that's pretty good. I like it. What is going on? All right. This is like the worst day of shooting I've ever done. My audio recorder keeps turning off. The camera keeps turning off. So this is a bit of a train wreck today. So it's going to be disjointed and shitty, and it is what it is. Forks are in, and I'm going to take this block out of here, and yes, the brake calipers are dragging off the hoses. They're braided stainless steel lines. There's really no issue in having them hanging like this for a short amount of time. They're not bouncing. They're not anything. They're just sitting there. The rubber hoses, I certainly wouldn't do this for very long, although they're probably fine too. So the 12 by 1.75 bolt, I'm going to put it on the back side of the axle here. This is not cooperating here. So this little guy here normally bolts there, and it is totally not cooperating right now. I don't know why. Oh, weird. So that needs to be messed with. But I don't feel like messing with it right now, so I'll pop that open. So I'm sure it has everything to do with the bigger diameter of the tubes, the bigger diameter of the lugs, and then we squared these off to make machining easier. The factory ones are cast, so they're round. So I'm sure that that bracket is supposed to fit like that, and it just doesn't. So because the fork actually comes all the way down here, I don't want to run this up here and run the chance of squishing that in there. So we're gonna have to come down lower and figure out something for that. It's not a huge deal, a little bit irritating, but not a game stopper by any means, or showstopper I should say. I'm going to call it there tonight. It's been an incredibly frustrating night for shooting video, and I'm just kind of burned out. Don't want to do anymore. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time. Bye.